When you compare cars from the 1970s to those from the 1990s, one noticeable difference is their design. Cars from the 70s were boxy, while those from the 90s were sleek and curvy. In fact, if you pay close attention, you can pinpoint the exact year when this design shift occurred. Take a look at this commercial for the Buick LeSabre. Check out the 1991 model, which has sharp, boxy edges, and then compare it to the 1992 model with its smooth, rounded curves. It's a stark transformation, and from that point on, cars just kept getting curvier and curvier. But how did this dramatic change happen? The move toward curvy cars in the 90s wasn't entirely new. Back in the 1930s, vehicles like the Chrysler Airflow used streamlined designs to cut down on wind resistance. However, by the 50s and 60s, these streamlined models didn't catch on as expected. Boxier cars gained popularity, and gas prices were steadily dropping, so fuel efficiency wasn't as much of a priority. By the 1970s, nearly every American car was still designed with sharp, angular lines. Cars were essentially three boxes stacked together: the hood, the cabin, and the trunk. While this worked well in the US, things were different in Europe. Gas was always more expensive, and in the 1960s, a gallon in France cost a steep 73.1 cents, compared to just 31 cents in the US. So, European manufacturers like Porsche, BMW, Audi, and Mercedes-Benz began crafting aerodynamic, curvier cars to save fuel. American manufacturers eventually took notice, especially as they sought to attract upscale buyers. However, the mass market wasn't ready for curvy cars just yet. That was until Uwe Bonzen, a European designer, introduced the 1982 Ford Sierra, which was notably curvier than any other car in its class. At first, people mocked the design, even calling it the jelly mold because of its round, almost gelatin-like shape. But that was just the beginning. In 1980, Jack Telnack, who had worked on the Ford Sierra design team, took over the US design team.
Wow.
By now, gas prices had soared due to conflicts in the Middle East, pushing American automakers to focus more on fuel efficiency. Telnack incorporated wind tunnel testing into his design process, starting with the 1983 Ford Thunderbird. But the real game changer came with the 1986 Ford Taurus. While it may seem less revolutionary by today's standards, at the time it was groundbreaking. It had curvy edges, and people loved it. It even made its way into pop culture as the car of the future in RoboCop. The success of the Taurus not only saved Ford, which was struggling financially at the time, but also sparked a wave of copycat designs from other automakers. As fuel economy regulations in the US became stricter, streamlining cars for better efficiency became even more essential. According to one Ford designer, aerodynamic designs were far more affordable than making mechanical changes under the hood. In the 1980s, the rise of computer modeling also made it easier to create curved designs, and the influence of this change can still be seen in cars today. Even those we consider boxy, like the Scion XB, have their own roundness to them. And judging by the sleek, curvy cars we see in modern sci-fi movies, it's clear that this trend is here to stay.